Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to Breslov web seminar Parshat Tetzaveh. Parshat Tetzaveh is a continuation from last week's Parshat Truma, building the sanctuary, but this week focuses on the clothing and the sacrifices of the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, and the regular Kohen. And it concentrates on his clothing, and it tells us this is how you weave the begad, the clothing, the article. He has to have a regular Kohen, serves in the temple in 4 articles of clothing. He serves with pants, with a shirt, with a hat, and with a gartel, a belt. Kohen Gadol, when he does his service, there are 8 begadim, the 4 that we mentioned, plus there is the tzitz, the me'il, a special cloak that he has. He has the choshen and the ephod. So there are 8 different articles for the Kohen Gadol and 4 for the regular Kohen, and then the Torah goes into detail what it's all about. But before the Torah does that, it takes the first 2 sentences of the Parsha, and why it's here and not in the previous, I don't know the answer. But the Torah says, "You shall command the children of Israel, and they should take to you pure oil," right, that was crushed and made into pure oil for the menorah. Okay? Pure oil. And it's only for the menorah, right? The sacrifices, when they used oil, it didn't have to be so pure. This had to be really pure. The midrash starts off the parsha from the pasuk in Jeremiah, in Yirmiyahu. It says, Eitz Zayis Korah Hashem Shemechem. Hashem called you, the children of Israel, an olive tree. You are likened to an olive tree. Asks the medrash, did you ever see an olive tree? Is that what beauty is all about? That's how the Jews are? Twisted branches, and right? You ever see an olive tree? You know, branches all over in different ways. It's not bad looking, but it's no beauty. You take some of these more majestic trees, like an apple tree, so it stands tall. Olive trees don't stand that tall. What's the majesty of the olive? And the medrash answers 2 things. One, just like olive oil, just oil in a general sense, could never be mixed with any other liquid. It always floats to the top, right? They have an oil spill, the oil remains on the surface. It doesn't sink into the ocean and be absorbed by the water. It stays on the top. Oil, take olive oil and pour it into a glass of water. It stays on the top. It doesn't mix. Just like olive oil does not mix with any other type of liquid, so too the Jewish nation cannot ever really mix with other nations. Yes, unfortunately, we see a lot of assimilation. We see where the Jews do get mixed up, but for all practical purposes, very unfortunately, after a generation or 2, maximum 3, there's nothing left of that Jew. They're completely obliterated from the Jewish nation by their own choice, right? It's not as if the nations gathered up on us like in the Holocaust or the Khmelnytsky massacres and killed us. No, it's the Jew himself who assimilated, and a generation or 2 later, it didn't matter to him, but he's lost to the Jewish people, unfortunately. So olive oil doesn't mix with anything. Neither does the Jewish nation. If you think you could assimilate, you think you could join up with the other nations, you think you can be like the other nations, it won't happen. It never has and never will. So we have to hope and pray that one of the lessons that we learned from the menorah, from the olive oil, is that we don't mix, we don't assimilate, we try and understand what it means to be a Jew, to live like a Jew, and then we'll go further. Another commentary offered in midrash. This is something that I've always felt this is an incredible insight. The midrash says an olive, what's the real preciousness of an olive? It's the oil that comes out of it. How do you get that olive oil? You take the olive, you crush it, and you crush it again, crush it still more. Keep on crushing that olive and let the oil flow out of that olive. The more you crush it, the more oil you get. So too, the Jewish nation. The more you put their backs to the wall, the more they will respond and come forth with their olive oil, with the beauty that is in them. Right? Zayis Ra'anon Yefei Pri Toar Korah Hashem Shemecha. Yirmiyah, Jeremiah says, you are a beautiful olive, a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful tree. Hashem calls you. Why? Because why do we suffer in this world? Why do we have all the problems and the difficulties that go on? Why? Because you're not going to really be you unless you face the crucible. You go in there and you go through the problems that you're having and you learn how to handle it in the right way, and then you come out to be pure olive oil. That's what the midrash is teaching us, and that's what happened. There's a Holocaust. There are daily occurrences in the land of Israel today. In Israel, we have problems with our friendly neighbors who want their own state when they never had one. So what are they waiting for? What do they want? But this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who want to crush us, and they try. The Khmelnytsky massacres, the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades. We've said it here several times. Imagine that. The Pope decided that he can't leave the Holy Land in the hands of the infidel Muslim. So he calls for a holy war. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers are conscripted or volunteer, and they go to the Holy Land to wage battle. They had, I think, 5 crusades or 6 crusades. Nothing happened of it. The land remained by the Arabs, and the Christians left. But what happened when they left on the crusades? They went through the Jewish cities and they killed hundreds of thousands of Jews, because the Pope is calling for a holy war against the Arab. They have to kill hundreds of thousands of Jews, which is probably the reason why they lost the crusades. Whatever the story might be, the olive oil, what happened to the Jews? They were crushed. They destroyed the communities. And despite having destroyed the communities, the Jews bounced back and they rebuilt themselves again and again and again and again. And these are some of the miracles that happen when we understand the value of what it means to light a menorah, to light a candelabrum, to light up the existence of Hashem in the world. The clothing of the Kohen Gadol. There's a Gemara in Zvachim. The Gemara talks about the different articles of clothing. Wearing pants is something that brings forgiveness for sexual sin. Wearing a hat brings forgiveness for arrogance. The breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, the Choshen, the ephod, were all meant to learn how to judge properly, learn how to take an article, an item, and judge it properly. The Me'il had on it bells, and it forgives for slander. It's meant to bring forgiveness for slander, and so on and so forth. The idea of the clothes of the Kohen Gadol, well, he represents the real tzaddik, the one who's trying to bring us closer to Hashem. And what we have to try and do is emulate the Kohen Gadol. We have to try and emulate that tzaddik. We have to try and bring about what it means: clarity of thought, judgment, proper judgment. We have to know how to watch our speech, to be beware of slander. We have to know how to conduct ourselves morally. We have to learn how to do everything that we can in order to come close to Hashem, in order to be able to realize and experience Hashem. Then the end of the Parsha speaks of the sacrifices of the Kohen Gadol, that he has the day he becomes a Kohen, the day he's dedicated to serving the temple. Not just the Kohen Gadol, but also the general Kohen. There are certain sacrifices they have to bring. The word korban, Rabbi Nachman teaches, is from the word, shares the same root as the word lekarev, to draw close. A korban is not meant to slaughter an animal and let the blood flow and then burn it. That's part of the physical act that it's made for. But we have to look at a korban as a sacrifice. A sacrifice means something that I am giving up for the sake of Hashem. I am sacrificing. I am looking to give of myself for Hashem. I am looking to give of my possessions. I give charity. I help somebody else. I go out of my way. All these are sacrifices. It's not the sanctuary that just gives us a place where to effect forgiveness. It's not the Kohen who does the work to cleanse all the mistakes and errors and sins that we did, but rather it's us who bring the sacrifice, make the sacrifice. We give charity. It's a sacrifice financially. We give of our time. We give of ourselves to somebody else. All that is the sacrifice, and that's really the act that brings us close to Hashem. May Hashem help us that we merit to make the sacrifices both here in our lives and in the temple, and that we're able to come close to Hashem and see the building of the temple, the ingathering of the exiles, the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days. Amen.